Welcome to the first part of the full stack development course series. Let us try to understand what is full stack development with an example. Consider the example of signing up into a website. Let us check the technologies required to implement sign up. HTML helps to define the web page content with labels, input text elements, and buttons. CSS is used to define the font, color, spacing, and screen layout. Bootstrap helps the web page look good in desktop and mobile. JavaScript helps to validate sign-up data entered. For example, if we need to validate a strong password, it can be implemented using JavaScript. The implementation of the validation can be simplified if we use any one of the JavaScript frameworks like Angular, React, and many other available frameworks. These technologies forms part of the front end. The sign-up details submitted needs to be stored in a centralized database so that it is possible to verify during login. Hence, a database is required to store the sign-up details. The front-end technologies cannot store the sign-up data directly into the database. It is done through a backend service. A backend service can be developed using any one of the programming language like C#, Python, Java, or any other programming language. It is not possible to create a service with a programming language alone. A framework developed using the programming language is required to implement the backend service. For example, when we use C# as the programming language, ASP.NET framework is required to implement a backend service. Here, ASP.NET is implemented by Microsoft using C#. Hope the explanation so far gives you an high-level view on the technologies required to implement sign-up. Technology stack is the term used to represent a set of technologies working together to make an application work. The English term stack refers to placing items one above the other. We can say these as a stack of plates. In similar lines, the term technology stack is used to represent technologies stacked one over the other to build an application. We have the database in the bottom of the technology stack. Above that, we have backend service which can be implemented using any programming language and a framework implemented with the programming language. Above the backend service, we have the front-end technologies. This is what is called as full stack. A full stack developer has the competence to implement a feature like sign up using all these technologies single-handedly. This course series makes its best attempt to help you become a full stack developer. You can go through this course even if you don't have any prior programming exposure. You're going to learn full stack by building a website for an imaginary pastry shop. This pastry shop is located in Paris and they want to sell their food products online. The name of the pastry shop is Patisserie. Patisserie is the French translation of pastry shop. In this first part of this course, we are going to develop the Our Story web page for Patisserie website. This is how the page will look like. This page details about the humble origins of the pastry shop and how they prepare their recipe. We will make this page look like this in a mobile phone. This page will be implemented using HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap. Since there is no dynamic content in front-end, JavaScript and JavaScript frameworks will not be implemented in this course. As there is no need to store and retrieve data, we will not implement the backend service and database. Once we complete the development of this page, we will publish the code to GitHub. Explanation of what GitHub is will be provided during the course. Then we will also deploy this code in cloud. After the deployment in cloud, we can access the web page from internet. Hope this gives an overview about the first part of this full stack course series. Let us catch up in the next video. This course is more practice oriented and coding driven. Hence, you need to learn this course using desktop or laptop and not using a smartphone. The course is demonstrated using Windows 10 operating system. If your desktop or laptop is a Mac, don't worry, necessary instructions for Mac users are provided then and there wherever required. It is recommended to use headphones during this course, which gives a focused attention and enables smoother learning experience. Prepare your environment appropriately and move on to the next video. During this course, we will develop HTML web pages. Chrome browser will be used to view the developed web pages. I would recommend to install Chrome browser in your desktop so that we get a uniform look and feel. In this video, I am going to provide instructions to install Chrome browser. If your desktop already has Chrome installed, you can skip this video. Now I will provide the instructions to install Chrome. Open the browser in your desktop and go to www.google.com. Then search for the keyword Chrome download and click on the link that comes up first, which should open a window like this. Click on the download link, which will initiate the download of the installable file. Based on the operating system from which you are accessing this web page, the respective version of Google Chrome will be downloaded accordingly. For example, if you are a Mac user, then the necessary file that is required for Mac will get downloaded. Open the downloaded file, follow the instructions and complete the installation of the Chrome browser. For Mac users, I have given necessary on-screen instructions. Please use that to complete your installation. Then move on to the next video. During this course, we will be creating and editing HTML and JavaScript files. All the coding demonstrations in this course will be done using the code editor Visual Studio Code. Hence, it is recommended to use Visual Studio Code during this learning journey. Feel free to use any other code editor as per your preference. Visual Studio Code is an open source project managed and maintained by Microsoft. In this video, I will provide the steps to download Visual Studio Code. In the browser, go to code.visualstudio.com. Click on the download link, which will initiate the download. If you are not sure about the operating system, click on this drop down and select the appropriate download option. Once downloaded, move on to the next video where instructions will be provided to install Visual Studio Code. In this video, I will provide instructions to install Visual Studio Code in Windows. Mac users can skip to next video where installation steps for Mac is provided. Now let me list out the steps to install Visual Studio Code in Windows. Once the download is completed as per the instructions provided in the previous video, click and run the downloaded executable file. This will display the license agreement. accept the license agreement and click Next. Then select installation folder. Then leave the application name as it is. Then check these two options. It helps to directly open files from the Windows File Explorer. Then confirm installation. Once the installation progresses and completes, clicking Finish will launch Visual Studio Code. This is the sample display of the Visual Studio Code application installed and launched during 2020. The installation steps and display of Visual Studio Code might vary based on the new versions that gets released in the future. Use this video as a guidance and complete the installation steps, then move on to the next video. In this video, I will provide instructions to install Visual Studio Code in Mac. If you are a Windows user, move on to the next video. In Mac, when download is initiated for Visual Studio Code, a zip file gets downloaded. Once the download is completed, open App Finder and select Downloads. The downloaded zip file will be available here in the Downloads folder. Double-click on this file to extract the zip file. After extraction, we should be able to see the Visual Studio Code application file in the Downloads folder. Change the view to icon view. Then drag and drop the Visual Studio Code application file to Applications folder. Then click on Applications folder where you can see Visual Studio Code icon available. Double-click on it to launch Visual Studio Code. When launching Visual Studio Code, a confirmation message will be popping up. Click Open to launch Visual Studio Code. This is the snapshot of Visual Studio Code after launching it in MacBook Pro during 2021. Use this screen layout for indicational purpose only, and the layout may change when new versions of Visual Studio Code is released in the future. Install Visual Studio Code based on the instructions provided in this video, and then move on to the next video. In this video, I will provide instructions to have quicker way to launch Visual Studio Code in Windows and Mac. In Windows, go to Start menu, then go to V section in the Start menu. If we expand the Visual Studio Code folder, we can find the icon to launch Visual Studio Code. Right-click on this icon, then select More, and then select Pin to Taskbar, which will include an icon in the taskbar. Now, Visual Studio Code can be launched by clicking on the taskbar icon. Now that I have provided instructions to quickly launch Visual Studio Code in Windows, let me now convey the steps to quickly launch Visual Studio Code in Mac. In Mac, first we need to launch Visual Studio Code. If Visual Studio Code is not already open, then open App Finder. In the App Finder, locate Visual Studio Code and double-click to launch it. Once Visual Studio Code is open, we should be able to see the Visual Studio Code icon in the bottom dock. Place the mouse cursor above this Visual Studio Code icon. Then press Ctrl button in keyboard and simultaneously click the mouse, which will display a context menu. In the context menu, selecting options will open a submenu. In the submenu, select Keep in Dock. These steps will make Visual Studio Code icon always available in the dock even after the application is closed. This makes it possible to launch Visual Studio Code by directly clicking on the icon in the bottom dock. Based on the instructions provided in this video, set up the quick launch of Visual Studio Code and then move on to the next video. In this video, I will provide instructions to install Live Server extension in Visual Studio Code. The Live Server helps to automatically refresh the browser when a HTML file is modified and saved. To install the Live Server extension, first open Visual Studio Code. Then click on the extensions icon available in the left-hand side. In this search box that appears, type Live Server. A list of extensions will be displayed in the bottom. From this list, choose this Live Server extension from Ritwik Day and click Install. It might take some time to load and install the extension. Once we see the options disable and uninstall displayed, it means that the Live Server extension is successfully installed. The usage of this extension will be demonstrated when we are going to work on the first JavaScript example. Install the Live Server extension based on the instructions provided in this video and then move on to the next video. In this video, let us look into the first feature that we are going to develop. This is the sample layout of the web page that displays the heritage and significance of the pastry shop. This page contains information about the origins of the shop. It also displays information about the 19th century pastry recipe book based on which the pastries are prepared in the shop. Hope this gives an overview about the page that we are about to develop. In the next series of videos, we will gradually develop this web page. Let us get started. As a first step, we are going to create a new folder named FSD. The expanded form for FSD is Full Stack Development. This folder will contain all the files that we are going to create during this course. Organizing the files in a proper folder structure will help us navigate them easily. In the next series of videos, I will help you create necessary folder structure. Open Visual Studio Code by clicking the icon in the bottom. Once Visual Studio Code is opened, in the File menu, select Open Folder. In the new window that appears, select a convenient folder as per your preference. I am going to create the FSD folder in D drive. Using the This PC option, I am going to select D drive by double-clicking it. Mac users can choose the folder as per their preference. Once you have identified the right folder, click New Folder. Choosing new folder will help us create the FSD folder that we wanted to be created. Type the folder name as FSD and press enter key. Then click the respective button to select the folder. There may be a confirmation screen displayed. Accept the confirmation. In the left hand side, we should be able to see the FSD folder name displayed, which means that we have successfully created and opened the folder in Visual Studio Code. Complete the steps mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. Now we will create a folder named Learn under the FSD folder. This folder will contain all the files that we are going to create for learning each technology. A separate folder will be created for each technology under the Learn folder. This section in the left hand side is where the files and folders will be displayed. In the top of this section, we can see an icon named New Folder. Click on this icon and then type the name of the folder as Learn and then press enter key. Based on the steps provided in this video, create the Learn folder and then move on to the next video. The first technology that we are going to learn is HTML. Hence, we will create a new folder named HTML in the Learn folder. First, click on the Learn folder. Then click on the New Folder icon. Then type HTML and press enter key. Create the HTML folder based on the steps provided in this video and then move on into the next video. Now we are going to create the file for our story web page. Click on the HTML folder created in the previous video. In the top of this section, there is an icon named New File. Click on this icon. Then type the file name as our-story.html in lowercase and press enter key. Create the file as mentioned in this video, then move on into the next video. This is the sample layout of the Our Story web page. Below the navigation bar, we can see the heading displayed as Our Story. We are going to gradually write the HTML code to display this heading. I am going to go to the Visual Studio Code that I had already opened. Within the editor window, I am going to type the less than symbol. The moment less than character is typed, we can see a drop-down list is displayed. I am going to press the enter key now, which will select the first item from the drop-down. After pressing enter, we can see that some code has got included. I am going to save this file using the option available in the file menu. Complete the steps whatever I have mentioned in this video and move on to the next video where I will provide necessary explanation. This doctype definition helps to convey the browser that the content of the file is an HTML document. This line also helps to define the HTML version. But in this line, we can see that no version is defined. When no version number is specified, it means that the HTML version is 5. HTML5 is the latest version. Each and every HTML file that we are going to develop should have this doctype definition included as the first line. Hope this gives an overview about the doctype definition. In the next video, we will write further coding to display the heading. Now let us continue the coding. The cursor is now positioned by the end of the line. We need to start writing code from the next line. Pressing enter key will place the cursor in the next line. Now I am going to type less than symbol followed by HTML. Then I am going to type greater than symbol. We can see that more code is automatically included by Visual Studio Code after typing greater than symbol. Include this line of code as explained in this video and move on to the next video. In the next video, I will provide necessary explanation about this code. A word prefixed with less than symbol and suffixed with greater than symbol is called as a tag in HTML. This is also called as an opening tag. When the word in the tag is prefixed with / character, it is called as closing tag. The HTML tag must have a closing tag. Hence, Visual Studio Code has automatically generated the closing tag for HTML. HTML tag is considered as main tag of an HTML document. All the content required for an HTML tag should be defined within the HTML tag. Hope this gives an overview about HTML tag. Let us catch up in the next video. I am going to place the cursor between the open and close tag of HTML. Now I am pressing the enter key. This will include a new line in between the open and close tag of HTML. If you notice the placement of the cursor, we can see that it is not in the beginning of the line. There are 4 spaces automatically included by Visual Studio Code. I am going to press the left arrow key 4 times in the keyboard. This demonstrates that Visual Studio Code has automatically included 4 spaces. These 4 spaces included is called as a code indent. Code indent provides better readability of the code. Now I am going to include body tag within the HTML tag. After typing greater than symbol of body tag, closing tag gets generated. Within the body tag, I have to include another tag, hence pressing enter key now. We can see that we have 2 indents formed with 8 space characters. For each inner tag, one more level of indent needs to be added. Now I am going to include the h2 tag. Within the h2 tag, I am going to type the heading Our Story. With this, we are completing the coding to display the heading. Let me save using the File menu. Complete the coding as mentioned in this video, save the file, and then move on into the next video. Now let us open the HTML file in the browser. I'm going to right click on the HTML file. Mac users press Ctrl key in the keyboard and click on the HTML file. This is equivalent to right click in Windows. After performing this operation, we should be able to see a context menu displayed. Windows users select the Reveal in File Explorer option. Mac users select the Reveal in Finder option. This will display the HTML file in the file system. Double-click on the HTML file, which will open the HTML page in the browser. We will be able to see the Our Story heading displayed in large bold font. Perform the steps mentioned in this video to check if the heading is displayed in the browser. Then move on into the next video. In the web page output, the heading displayed is not as per our expectations. Changing the font and color will give us the expected result. Applying styles with font and color needs to be implemented using CSS. CSS is another technology which we will learn later. Hope this resolves the question in your mind about how we are going to apply styles. In the next video, I will explain about the code that we have implemented. Let me explain about the body tag now. Whatever content we wanted to get displayed in the web page needs to be included within the body tag. It is possible to include multiple tags within body tag. There can be only one body tag defined within an HTML file. Hope this gives an overview about body tag. In the next video, we will look into the heading tag. Let me explain about H2 tag now. H2 tag represents heading level 2. There are 6 levels of heading available in HTML. I have included a new file named heading.html to demonstrate about heading. In this code, within the body tag, I have included to display all heading levels. The heading levels start from H1 and it is available till H6. H1 has the largest font. The size of the font reduces as it goes towards H6. I have already opened heading.html in the browser. This is how H1 to H6 gets displayed. We can see gradual reduction in the font size from heading 1 to heading 6. Hope this gives you an idea about heading tags. Let me go back to the code to explain few more aspects. Notice that multiple tags are defined within the body tag. The browser displays the content in the order how the tags are defined in the HTML file. There is no need for you to try this code. It is for reference purpose only. Let us catch up in the next video. Now that we have created an HTML file, let us understand more about HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Text containing links to other documents is called as hypertext. Markup refers to tags that gives specific representation for text. For example, we used H2 tag to represent a text as heading. Hope this gives explanation about the name Hypertext Markup Language. HTML standards are defined and documented by an organization called Mottvik. The specification document can be found in this link. As of 2022, when this course was created, HTML5 is the latest version. Hope this gives an overview about HTML. Let us catch up in the next video. This is the expected layout of the Our Story web page. This is the output of the page that we have created so far. Let us now have a closer look into the title displayed in the tab. It is supposed to display Patisserie, but in our page it displays the file name of the HTML. Next, we will focus on defining the title for the web page. Let us catch up in the next video. The word patisserie is a French word and contains an accented character. We can see an arrow above the character A. This type of accent is called as circumflex. It is difficult to type this character, hence I recommend to use Google Translator to get this word. I have opened translate.google.com. In the left side, I have selected English. In the right side, French is selected. In the left, I have typed pastry shop. This has displayed the translated French word patisserie in the right side. Clicking here will copy the translated word. Perform the steps mentioned in this video and copy the word. In the next video, I will mention when to use this word. To include the title, we need to first include the head tag. The head tag needs to be defined before the body tag. So I'm going to place the cursor by the end of the HTML tag and then I'm going to press enter. This will create a new line between HTML tag and body tag. Here I'm going to include the head tag. Within the head tag, I'm going to include the title tag. Within the title tag, we need to include the title text Patisserie. We have already copied the Patisserie text. Let us paste it using the paste option available in the edit menu. This completes the changes required to display the title. Now I'm going to save the file from the file menu. In the file menu, we can see Ctrl S is the shortcut key for saving the file. Next time, we will use the shortcut key instead of the file menu. Mac users, make note of the shortcut key for save in the file menu so that you can start using it going forward. Include the code whatever mentioned in this video, save the file and move on to the next video. Now let us check if the title is displayed in the browser. I am going to open the browser tab where the HTML file was already displayed. Here we can see that the title is still not modified. Once a web page is loaded, the browser is not going to automatically reload the changes. We have to manually refresh the page using this reload option available in the browser. After clicking this option, we can see that the modified title is displayed now. But instead of a character with circumflex, we see some other character displayed, which is not the expected result. We will fix this issue in the next video. I would recommend you to try reloading the page in your browser and check if the modified title is displayed. Let us catch up in the next video. To fix the title display, I'm going to define a new tag within the head tag. Before the title definition, I am including a new line. I am typing less than symbol and then I am typing the tag name as meta. After that, I am leaving a space and then I am typing charset. After charset, an equal symbol and then I am typing double quotes character. Visual Studio Code has automatically included the closing double quotes character. Within the double quotes, I am typing UTF-8. Then after the double quotes, I am typing greater than symbol. Meta tag does not require a closing tag. Inclusion of this line will resolve the issue in displaying title. In the next video, I will explain how to save the file using shortcut key and we will check if the title works correctly or not. Include this line in your HTML file and then move on into the next video. Refer the on-screen instructions on how to apply the shortcut key. The white circle next to the file name denotes that there are unsaved changes in the file. Now I'm going to press Ctrl S shortcut key. After pressing Ctrl S, we can see that the white circle is gone, which means that the file is saved. Now I go to the browser. I am reloading the page. We can see that the title is now displayed correctly. Based on the instructions provided, save the file using shortcut key and check if the title is displayed correctly. Let us catch up in the next video. Let me explain about the head tag. The head tag helps to define additional information about the web page. For example, the meta tag within head tag instructed the browser to use UTF-8 character set. UTF-8 character set supports all the characters of all the languages in this world. The browser uses this meta tag definition to apply UTF-8 character set to the title and content within the body. We have seen how this definition helped to resolve the character issue that we had earlier. During this course, we will come across various other examples through which we will understand the importance of head tag. Hope this gives an understanding about head tag and the character set definition using meta tag. Let us catch up in the next video where I will explain about the importance of title tag. Now we will understand the importance of title tag. Title tag helps to identify a specific web page when we have a lot of tabs open in browser. For example, here I have multiple tabs open and based on the title I could find out which tab I have to open next. Now coming to the favorites, when we add a page to favorites, we can see that the title is automatically pre-filled, which makes it easier to add to favorites. One more important purpose of title is that search engines use title as a key information to rank your page. In the search result, we can see that title is displayed in larger font. By looking into these benefits, it is very clear that title is important and it has to be defined for each page. Hope this helps you understand the importance of title tag. Let us catch up in the next video. Hope you notice this new syntax included for meta tag. This is called as an attribute of an HTML tag. An attribute of a tag helps to define additional information about an HTML tag. It is possible to have multiple attributes for an HTML tag. In this meta tag, the attribute name is charset and the attribute value is UTF-8. Notice that Attribute name and value should be separated by equals sign. Attribute value should always be defined within either double quotes or single quotes. Hope this video gives you an overview about HTML attributes. Let us catch up in the next video. Now that we have implemented the title, let us now move on to the next implementation. In the sample layout page, we can see that there is a small image displayed next to the title. In HTML terms, this is called as Favicon. Favicon is a short form for favorite icon. Inclusion of Favicon improves the branding of the website. In the next series of videos, we will see how to get this implemented. For implementing Favicon, first we need the image file for the icon. In the description or resources section of the video, you can find the option to download a file named resources.zip. The Favicon image file is available within this zip file. Download this file and move on to the next video where I will explain the next steps to get the image file. Once the file is downloaded, go to the Downloads folder. Windows users go to the Downloads folder using File Explorer. Mac users go to the Downloads folder in the Finder application. Click on the resources.zip file and press shortcut key Ctrl+C to copy the file. Mac users use the shortcut key Command+C to copy the file. Once the file is copied, move on to the next video. I will explain where to extract the zip files. Go to Visual Studio Code, then click on the Learn folder, then right click on the Learn folder. Mac users press Ctrl in keyboard and then click Learn folder. In the context menu displayed, select the Reveal in File Explorer option. Mac users select Reveal in Finder option. This will open the file system in the FSD folder where we can see the Learn folder displayed. This is the folder where we want to copy the resources zip file. Now use shortcut key Ctrl+V to paste the copied resource file. Mac users use Command+V to copy the resource file. Complete these steps and then move on to the next video. Now we have to extract the zip file in this folder. Right click on the zip file and select Extract All. In the window that displays, uncheck this option and click Extract button. Mac users just double click the zip file, which will extract the zip file. After extraction, we should be able to see the resources folder. If we now go to the Visual Studio Code, we can see the resources folder. Extract the zip file as mentioned in this video, then move on to the next video. If we examine the resources folder, you will be able to see lots of folders and files. But in my resources folder, there will be only one image file. As I am in the beginning of recording this course, I may not know all the files that would be required during this course. As we go along, I will add files as and when required in the resources folder. On completion of recording of the course, this resources folder will contain all the necessary files. At that point of time, I will freshly create a resources zip file based on this folder and will provide that zip file for download. I just tried to explain why there is a difference in the file listed. Hope this clarifies. If you have any questions regarding this, let us catch up in the next video. In the resources folder, we can see a subfolder named images. Under images, we can see the file named favicon-32 by 32.png. If I can click on this file, we can see the image file content in the right hand side. This is the image we are going to use to display the favicon. I will quickly show you how I created this icon. I searched internet for favicon online generator. On the search result, I found this online favicon generator. In the text section, we can type the text we want. Using the options for font, size, font color and background color, we can customize the display of the icon. Once satisfied with the icon, click download to get the image. I created the icon using this online generator. If you are interested, you can create your own customized icon or use the icon image that I have provided. Now we are going to create a folder named images in the HTML folder. This new folder is where we are going to have the favicon image file. Click on the HTML folder and then select new folder. Type the folder name as images and press enter key. Click on the image file and then use shortcut key Ctrl C to copy the file. Then click on the newly created image folder and use shortcut key Ctrl V, which will create a copy of the image file in this new folder. Mac users use Command Z and Command V. Complete the steps mentioned in this video to copy the file and then move on to the next video. As we have successfully extracted the files from resources.zip file, it is no longer necessary and it can be removed. Right click on the resources.zip file and select delete. Mac users press Ctrl button in keyboard and click on resources zip file, then select delete. Mac users must be clear by now that whenever we have right click, Mac users should have to use the control key in keyboard. Hence, I am not going to mention about this going forward. Delete the resources.zip file based on the instructions provided in this video and move on to the next video. Now that we have got the favicon image file, let us apply it in the web page. The ourstory.html is a separate file and icon image file is another separate file. We need to create a link between these two files to make the favicon displayed. This link can be created by including a link tag within the head tag. I am creating a new line after the title tag. I am typing link tag. Then I am including the attribute rel with value icon. The second attribute is type with value as image/png. The third attribute is href. After typing double quotes for href, a drop-down is displayed with the files and folders. These files and folders are from the current folder where our story.html is located. Pressing enter selects the image folder and then it displays the favicon file available in that folder. I am pressing enter again to select the file. We can now see that the href attribute is defined with favicon file name. After the double quotes, I am typing greater than symbol. With this, we are completing the link definition that links the favicon image. I am saving the file using Ctrl S shortcut key. Let me summarize what you have to do after watching this video. Include this line, save the file, and then move on to the next video where I will explain about another way to launch the web page. To launch the ourstory.html in browser, we are going to follow a different approach. We are going to use the live server extension that we installed earlier. Let me now demonstrate how to launch the web page using live server extension. Right click on ourstory.html and select open with live server option. This will launch the web page in a new browser window. You can see that the favicon image is displayed next to the title. To check if live server extension is working correctly, let me go back to the editor and make some changes in the heading. Now let me save the file and go to the browser. We can see that the changes made and saved are reflected automatically without reloading the page. Launch ourstory.html using live server extension and move on to the next video. Let me explain about the link tag that we included to display favicon image. The rel attribute with value as icon conveys that we are defining a favicon. The type attribute helps to define the image file type. In our case, since it is a PNG file, we have given the value as image/PNG. The href attribute helps to define the image file for the favicon. The expansion for href is hyperlink reference. Hope now you are aware how to include favicon to a web page. Let us catch up in the next video. Next, we will learn how to display this image which represents a street in Paris. I have already completed the steps to display the image, and this is how the image is displayed in the page. Let me summarize the steps to get this implemented. Copy paris-street.png from images folder under resources folder. Paste the image to images folder of HTML. In our story.html file, after the heading tag, I have included the Img tag. Type the Img tag exactly as specified here. Explanation for this tag will be provided later. Save the file, check image display in browser, then move on to the next video. Let me tell you how I sourced this hand-drawn Paris street image. I have obtained this image from a public domain book named Historic Paris. It can be found in archive.org, and here we can see that this book is not in copyright. I had taken up one of the illustrations available in this book. Since the book is not under any copyright, the contents of the book can be used without copyright violation. As a full stack developer, we should be aware how copyrights work, and we should be careful enough not to violate the rights. Apart from images, copyrights are applicable for video and audio as well. Hope this video conveys the importance of sourcing your images without violating the copyrights. Let us catch up in the next video. Now let us try to understand about the Img tag. The Img tag helps to define an image in an HTML page. The src attribute helps to define the location of the image file. The alt attribute represents alternative text. To demonstrate the importance of alt attribute, let me make a minor change in the image file name. After this change, it means that we are referring to a file that does not exist. Let us check in the browser what is displayed. We can see a broken image is displayed by the browser to indicate that the image referred is unavailable. Next to the broken image, we can see that the alt text provided is displayed. Due to bandwidth or network issue, if the image is not loaded, then the alt text is displayed. This helps the user to understand what image would have been displayed. There is one more purpose for alt attribute, which I will explain in the next video. Do you know that it is possible for a visually impaired person to browse through a web page? It is made possible using a screen reader software. To understand how screen reader works, I would recommend you to watch a demo video by searching for keywords screen reader demo in YouTube. Watch the demo video and come back. In the next video, I will explain how alt attribute helps a visually impaired person to know about the content in the web page. Now that you have a fair understanding how a screen reader works, let me try to explain how it interprets our web page. When the screen reader reads the heading, it will read the heading "Our Story" aloud. When it encounters the Paris street image, it will read it as an image. If alt is defined, then the screen reader will read the text defined in the alt attribute. This will help the visually impaired person to understand your page in a better way. Always include the alt attribute for Img tag with appropriate text, keeping a visually impaired person in mind. Hope this helps you understand the significance of alt attribute in Img tag. Let us catch up in the next video. Next, we will include this text which has to be displayed adjacent to the image. I am in Visual Studio Code. In the left hand side, I am expanding resources folder, then code snippets, then HTML, then click on the file 001 our story text1.txt. This file contains the text we want to include. Using mouse or touchpad, I can triple click within this text file, which will select the entire line. Once selected, I am copying the selected line. Now I am opening our story.html and pasting the copied line after the Img tag. I am saving the file and checking the result in the browser. You can see that the text is displayed, but it is not aligned as expected. Explanation for this misalignment will be provided in the subsequent videos. Copy the text content from this file, paste it in our story.html, save the file, check the result, then move on to the next video. The browser displays the content in the order how tags are defined within the body tag. It places the content one by one from the left corner. Let us assume that this is the first HTML element defined in your body tag. This can be any HTML element, and the rectangular box is just for representational purpose denoting an HTML element. The next HTML element gets placed after the previous one in the right hand side. Likewise, elements are placed one after the other. Once there is no space left in the right hand side, it places the next element below in the next line. This is the general principle followed by the browser. This is the output of the page that we have developed so far. Let us check if the principle I explained earlier is applied or not. After displaying of the heading, the image should have got displayed adjacent to the heading like this, but it is displayed in the bottom. Next, let us consider this as the boundary of the image. The text that follows is displayed correctly as per the principle I explained earlier. Why is the browser applying different principle each time? Let us try to find the answers in the subsequent videos. Let us draw a border for the HTML tags. It will help us understand the boundary of the space occupied by these tags. This can be achieved by including this style definition within the head tag. I have copied and pasted this style definition from 002 style border.txt from the same resources code snippets HTML folder. This is the output of the page after including the borders. Copy the style definition from this file, include it within head tag of our story.html and check if the borders are displayed. In the next video, we will analyze the display. This is how the page looks after inclusion of the borders. This is the border for body, this is the border for heading, and this is the border for image. Notice that the border of the heading extends till the end of the line. The border of the image is not extended till the end of the line, but it occupies only the width of the image. HTML elements can be classified under two categories. One is block and other is inline. Block element occupies the entire line. Inline element occupies only till the width of the element. Heading tag is a block element, hence we see that it occupies the entire line, which forces the image tag to be displayed in the next line. Image tag is an inline element, hence it is occupying only till its width, and it allows the subsequent text content to be displayed in the same line. Hope this explains the reason why the page content is not displayed in the way we expected. CSS can help in aligning and positioning web page content. Let me show you an example. I am including style attribute for heading tag. Then I am defining the style property name as float and value as left. This is a CSS style definition applied on the heading tag. Let me save the file and check the result. We can see that the heading and image are displayed adjacent to each other. This demonstrates that the alignment problem can be solved using CSS, but there is some structuring that is required in HTML which will effectively help us applying styles. I will demonstrate about structuring HTML content using an analogy in the next video. Consider this shelf which can be in a living room. The contents that are showcased in the shelf are the jars, plants, framed pictures, and books. The shelf acts as a framework to make it possible to organize lots of items together. This part of the shelf acts as a container for a single plant. This part of the shelf acts as a container for 3 items. These dividers helps to create smaller spaces within the shelf to accommodate more items. Now let us relate this shelf with a web page. The items displayed in the shelf can be related to HTML content like heading, image, and text. The dividers can be considered as div tag in HTML. The div tag is a new tag that I am introducing to you. The div tags are going to be invisible dividers and containers in our web page that is going to help us organize the web page content. Hope this video helps you understand the importance of div tag. Let us catch up in the next video where we will start applying the div tag. The div tag plays an important role in structuring the web content. We are going to organize the ourstory.html web page content using div tags. This will make it possible to apply styling and layout later. First, let us focus on the navigation bar. The navigation bar will be defined in a div. Within this div, there will be one div for the logo and another div to hold multiple navigation items. Within the div for navigation items, we will include a div for our story navigation link. For now, we have only one navigation item, which is our story. During the course, new navigation items will be added with each defined within a separate div. For the div layout I explained, this will be the actual code. In the next video, we will include the coding. First, let us clean up the code before including the div tag. I included this style definition in heading to demonstrate that CSS is capable of changing the page layout. This is not required now, and I am removing this style attribute. We included this style definition to view the borders of the HTML elements. We don't need these borders now, hence I'm going to remove this line as well. Let me demonstrate how to remove this line in a quicker way. I am placing the cursor on the beginning of the line which I want to delete. Then I am pressing and holding the shift key. By holding the shift key, I am pressing the down arrow key once, which will select the entire line. After selection, the shift key can be released. Now pressing delete key will delete the entire line. Make the changes as mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. Now we are going to include the div tags. Let me introduce a short way to include tags in Visual Studio Code. There is something called Emmet abbreviations, which are short forms for quickly including tags. I am including a line after body tag. Here I am typing div. We can see that a drop down appears with one item listing div. We can see a box adjacent to the drop down list which has more information about this drop down list item. This box states that div is an Emmet abbreviation and it will generate the open and close tag as shown in this preview. If I continue typing greater than symbol and typing div again, we can see the Emmet abbreviation showing an inner div tag. To add one more div tag, I am typing plus div. We can see one more div added. Then I am typing greater than and a div, which includes a div within the second tag. Try this Emmet abbreviation in your Visual Studio Code and move on to the next video where I will explain how to generate the div tag using Emmet abbreviation. The drop-down list that gets displayed when typing is called as Intellisense. When switching between windows, the Intellisense disappears. There is a shortcut key to make Intellisense come back. Place the cursor by the end of the Emmet abbreviation and then press Ctrl space to bring back the Intellisense option. For Mac as well, the shortcut key is Ctrl space. Now pressing enter will generate the div tags. I'm going to press enter key now. After pressing enter, we can see that the div tags are automatically generated. Place the cursor after the Emmet abbreviation, press Ctrl space to view the Intellisense drop-down and then press enter to generate the div tags. Once done, move on to the next video. Let me now include the content within these div tags. Within this div, we need to include the logo with the text as Patisserie. I am double clicking on the content within title tag to select the word Patisserie. Then I am pressing Ctrl C to copy. Now I am placing the cursor between the first inner div. Then I am pasting it here. Here the first character should be in uppercase, which I am changing now. Then I am placing the cursor between this inner div and typing our story, which will be the text for the navigation link. Implement the coding mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. After inclusion of the div tags for navigation, I am saving the changes and checking the output in the browser. We can see Patisserie and our story displayed. The div tag does not have any visible representation. Since div tag is a block element, each item is displayed in a separate line. Now we have put in necessary structure in place using div tag so that we can apply styles later. Save the file and check if the result is displayed as demonstrated, then move on to the next video. We will make one final change for the navigation section. I'm going to change the outermost div tag as nav. First, I am changing the start tag. Then I am changing the end tag. After this change, if I save and check the result, we see no difference at all. The nav tag behaves exactly like a div tag, but there is a difference. The nav tag can be understood by screen readers. The screen reader software understands that nav tag contains the main navigation options of the website and conveys it to the visually challenged person. In HTML terms, nav tag is classified as semantic tag. Semantic tags in HTML provides information about the sections of your web page. Hope this gives an understanding why we are using nav tag instead of div tag. Change the outermost div tag as nav, save the file, check the result, and then move on to the next video. Now that we have completed the navigation part of the Our Story web page, let us focus on the rest of the page content. This is the top part of the page and this is the bottom part of the page. This is the view of the entire page. In each page of this website, we will have a div that encloses the entire page content that is apart from the navigation section. In this page, we can see margin included in the left and right hand side, which can be made possible only by defining this outermost div. From the next video onwards, we will start implementing this div. To include the outermost div, we need to enclose these three lines within a div tag. I can include the div tag after the closing nav tag. Then I can select the closing tag and cut it using Ctrl X shortcut. Then I can place the closing tag in a new line after these three lines. Then I can indent all these lines. This is a manual approach and we can implement it in a quicker way. As we are going to take a different approach, I am reverting back the changes done using Ctrl Z shortcut key multiple times till the div tag is gone. Let us catch up in the next video. First, let us understand what a command is in Visual Studio Code. A command can be any action that we want Visual Studio Code to perform. Open folder, save, copy, or some of the commands which we have used so far. These commands can be triggered from menu or using shortcut key. There are numerous other commands available in Visual Studio Code and not all commands are available from the menu. For example, the emmet abbreviation related commands cannot be found in the menu. To access all commands, we have an option called command palette, which we will understand in the next video. The command palette can be triggered from the view menu. Now I'm going to select this option and we can see a text box appearing in the editor area. We can also see a drop-down list displaying all the commands. This is what is the command palette. If I press escape, the command palette disappears. The command palette can also be opened using the shortcut key Ctrl Shift P. I am pressing Ctrl and Shift key together and holding it. Then I am pressing the P character once. Then I am releasing the Ctrl and Shift character. Now you will be able to see the command palette. For Mac, Command Shift P is the shortcut key. The command palette is going to help us perform a lot of operations in a quicker way. Practice yourself to open command palette using shortcut key before moving on to the next video. Once the command palette is open, it is easier to quickly find the command that we want. Let me demonstrate how to trigger the open folder command using command palette. First, I am pressing Ctrl Shift P. The command palette appears. Then I am typing open folder. We can see all commands having the words open and folder are displayed in the drop-down. Now I am using down arrow key to go to the respective entry. Pressing enter key will execute the open folder command. I am pressing enter key now. We can see the open folder command is triggered and the folder selection window is opened. I have executed this command to demonstrate how command palette works, hence I am pressing escape key to close this window. Practice yourself to try any command using command palette and then move on to the next video. Let me now help you recollect that we were about to define this outermost div tag that encloses all this content. I will now specify the steps to get this implemented using command palette. I am placing the cursor in the beginning of the next line after the closing nav tag. I am selecting the following 3 lines. Now I am opening the command palette. Then I am typing wrap and I have to select wrap with abbreviation option. Since wrap with abbreviation option is the first option, I can directly press enter key. After selection of the command, we can see another empty text box present. Here we have to provide the name of the enclosing tag. I am typing div here. We can see the preview shown in the bottom on how the code will look like after this command is applied. I am pressing enter key now, which will include the enclosing div tags. Notice that the code indentation is automatically applied. I am saving the file and checking the result. We don't see any visible difference, but we have successfully included the outermost div tag. Let me summarize the steps again so that you can implement this in your code. First, I am reverting back the code to old state. Select these 3 lines, open the command palette, type wrap and press enter key, then type div and press enter key. Once done, save the file, check the result, and then move on to the next video. Now let us include the rest of the content in the Our Story web page. We have to include this horizontal line, this text message, and the image. Let me now go to Visual Studio Code. Under the resources image folder, we can find a file named book cover bw.png. This is the book cover image file. I am copying this file. I'm going to paste this file in the HTML images folder. Copy this file and move on to the next video where we will include the HTML content. Now we will include the HTML tags in our story HTML file. I am opening the folder resources, code snippets, HTML. HTML tags are available in this file named 003 our story bottom part.txt. This is the content of this file. This HR tag will include a horizontal line. This is the text to be displayed. This image tag will display the book cover image. I am using shortcut key Ctrl A to select all the lines and copying the text. Then I am opening our story HTML file. I am placing the cursor in the beginning of the line where the div tag closes. Then I am pasting the code here. I am saving the file and checking if the horizontal line, text, and image in the bottom part are displayed. With this change, we have successfully included the HTML required for displaying the Our Story web page. With this, we are concluding the HTML learning for displaying Our Story web page. From the next video onwards, we will learn to apply styles for Our Story web page. Before going to the next video, perform the steps mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. When learning HTML, we created a folder named HTML. Similar to that, we will create a folder for CSS. We will use this new folder to store files that we will create when learning CSS. Let me mention the steps to create the folder. Click on the Learn folder, then click on New folder icon, then type the folder name as CSS and press enter. Create this new folder and move on to the next video. To start learning CSS, I have created a new file named selector.html. In this new file, I am typing less than symbol and pressing enter key, which includes the doc type. In the next line, I am typing HTML. Here, HTML is an Emmet abbreviation displayed as first item in the dropdown. Pressing enter key now generates the open and close tag of HTML. Notice that the cursor is automatically placed in between the open and close tags. We are creating this file to start working on our first CSS example. Create this new file named selector.html in the CSS folder, then include the doctype HTML tag and move on to the next video. Using Emmet abbreviations, I am going to create the head, meta, title and body tags. Observe how I am including the tags using Emmet abbreviations. Now that I have completed the coding, follow similar steps and complete this part of the coding. We will start working on the CSS demonstration from the next video onwards. In selector.html, I have included a h1 tag with content as heading level 1. A style attribute is defined on this tag. Style attribute helps to define style for a specific HTML tag. The style is defined as color blue. Color is a CSS property. By setting it as blue, we are setting the font color as blue. I am launching the web page in live server. You can see the heading is in blue color. Include h1 tag with this style definition and check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. After the h1 tag, I have included 4 h2 tags. Using style attribute, all h2 tags are defined with red color and this is the output. If I want to change the color to green, the change has to be done in each h2 tag. If I want to change the color of h2 in multiple HTML files, then each file needs to be manually opened and changed. We can overcome this problem by defining the styles in an external file. This video is for demonstration purpose only. You don't have to implement any code. Let us catch up in the next video. In selector.html, I am clearing the h2 tags that I had included earlier. Now I am going to include 4 h2 tags. Using Emmet abbreviation, we can quickly get these tags generated. Typing h2 asterisk 4 creates 4 h2 tags. Here asterisk helps to repeat the tags. Tag content can be included within curly braces. I am typing open curly braces and the content I wanted within each h2 tag. If I save and check, we can see the 4 h2 tags displayed. Generate these h2 tags in selector.html using the Emmet abbreviation h2 asterisk 4 open curly braces heading level 2 closing curly braces. Then save the file, check the result and then move on to the next video. In the previous video, I mentioned about defining the styles in a separate file. I have created a separate Stylesheet file named styles.css. This file will hold the styles for selector.html. I have created this file in the CSS folder. Create the new file styles.css and then move on to the next video. In styles.css, I am typing h2, then a space, followed by open curly braces. Then pressing enter and including the style property color with value as red. This style definition displays all the h2 tags in red color. I am saving and checking the web page, but the color is not applied. The selector.html does not know where the style is defined, hence the colors are not applied. Include this style definition in styles.css, save the file and move on to the next video where I will demonstrate creating the link between HTML and the Stylesheet file. Now I'm going to link selector.html with styles.css. In selector.html, I am including a new line after title. Then I am typing link. In the drop down, I am selecting link:CSS. This generates the link tag for applying styles. In the generated link tag for href attribute, I am changing the file name from style.css to styles.css. I am saving the file and checking the result. We can see that h2 tag is applied with red color. Include the link tag based on the instructions provided in this video. Check if h2 tags are displayed in red color and then move on to the next video. Now let me demonstrate how to change all the h2 tag colors to green. In styles.css, I am changing the color from red to green. When saving and checking the result in browser, we can see that all h2 tags are changed to green. Make this change in styles.css, check if the color change is reflected, then move on to the next video. With this style attribute, we know that the styles are applied for the respective h1 tag. When style is defined in a separate file, we need a mechanism to say to which tag does this style needs to be applied to. This part of the style definition in styles.css is called as selector. Here we have defined h2 as a selector, which means that the style has to be applied to all h2 tags. This type of selector is called as element selector. Here the word element refers to an HTML tag. Hope this video gives you an understanding how external CSS works. Let us catch up in the next video. Now I will demonstrate how to implement class selector. In styles.css, I am changing h2 as dot subheading and then I am saving the file. In selector.html, let me include class attribute for one of the h2 tag with value as subheading and saving the file. In the output, we can see that for whichever tag we included the class attribute, that respective heading is in green color. Implement the change mentioned in this video and move on to the next video where I will explain about class selector. Here, class selector should be prefixed with a period. This can also be called as dot. The name followed after dot can be any convenient name that we want. In our scenario, we are using h2 as subheading, hence we are defining with this name. Whichever HTML tag is defined with class attribute having subheading as the value will be applied with this style. For example, I'm going to define the class attribute for two more h2 tags with having the value as subheading. If I save and check the result, we can see that the respective tags are changed to green color. Hope this gives an idea on how class selector works. Let us catch up in the next video. Now that we have understood about selectors, let us now understand about styling. I have created a new HTML file named styling.html. I am opening selector.html. Then I am pressing Ctrl A to select all the text and then pressing Ctrl C to copy. I am coming back to styling.html and pasting the content here. Then I am changing the title to styling. After that, I am removing all the content within body and including a h1 tag with the content as hello world. In the next series of videos, we are going to apply various styling to this heading tag. Let me summarize what you have to do. Create this new file named styling.html in CSS folder. Copy all the content from selector.html. Change the title as styling. Clear the body content and include this heading tag. Once these steps are done, move on to the next video. Notice that styling.html is already linked to styles.css. So we can define the styling in styles.css. I am opening styles.css. I am including the element selector for h1 tag. Then I am defining the color as blue. I am saving the file. Then I am launching styling.html using live server. We can see hello world displayed in blue color. Implement the changes, check the display, and then move on to the next video. In the subsequent videos, I will be using this window layout for my demonstration. With this window layout, we can quickly view the changes in the browser. If required, you can change the window layout like this based on the instructions I will give in this video. I will demonstrate how to get this layout in Windows operating system. Mac users can search for these keywords and refer the supporting document from Apple. Let me maximize the Visual Studio Code window. Let me click on the center button on the top right corner. Next, I am clicking and dragging the window till the mouse pointer reaches the left-hand side corner of the screen. Once a border is displayed, we can release the mouse key, which will make Visual Studio Code occupy left-hand side half of the screen. In the right-hand side, we can see the other open windows. I am clicking on the Chrome browser, which will get the Chrome browser docked in the right. Change the window layout like this based on the instructions provided in this video. Once done, move on to the next video. Now we will understand how to set the background color for an HTML element. More style definitions can be included by separating each style with a semicolon. We already have a semicolon. I'm going to include the style in the next line. I am typing background hyphen color colon space yellow. This will set the background color of h1 tag to yellow color. After I save, in the Chrome browser, we can see the heading with background color as yellow. Include style for background color, check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. Now let us apply some spacing around the text using padding property. I am including padding with value as 1 rem and saving it. After saving, we can see some space getting added around the hello world text. REM is a size-based CSS unit and it is one of the most recommended unit to define size. Understanding CSS size units are beyond the scope of this course. If you are interested to learn more, look out for documents using keywords CSS, size and units. Include the padding property, check if spacing is added around, then move on to the next video. Now let us apply a border around the h1 element. I am including a new property border with value as 0.25 rem space solid space blue. 0.25 rem defines the width of the border. Solid represents a solid line and not a dotted line. Blue represents the border color. After inclusion of this property, we can see the blue border applied. Include the border property, check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. Now we are going to add some spacing around the border. This can be defined using margin property. I am including the margin property with the value as 2 rem. After saving the file, we can see some spacing added around the border. Include margin property, check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. Let us inspect the h1 tag in the browser. In the bottom of the elements section, if I scroll down, we can see a diagram. This is the box model of the h1 tag. The innermost box is the text content hello world. If I place the mouse in the innermost box, we can see that section in the browser highlighted. All the numbers represented here are in pixels. The next outermost box is padding, then border, and then margin. The box model represents that an HTML element occupies a rectangular box-like area in the web page. This area includes the content, padding, border, and margin. Hope this video gives you an understanding what a box model is. Let us catch up in the next video. We now know how padding, border, and margin property works. For these three properties, it is also possible to apply style on each of the four specific sides. For example, if I change the border to border bottom, then the border is applied only in the bottom side. If I change padding to padding top, then padding is applied only on the top. If I change margin to margin left, then margin is applied only to the left. This is the complete list of all properties. Hope this gives an idea how padding, border, and margin can be applied on specific sites. Now we will align the hello world text to center. I have reverted back the site specific properties that I defined in the previous video. I am including text align property with the value as center. After saving, we can see the hello world text is center aligned. Include this property, check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. This is the font settings screen of my Windows 10 operating system. These are the list of fonts installed in my PC. Rockwell is one of the font installed. If I go back to Visual Studio Code and in styles.css, I'm going to define the font family property with the value as Rockwell. Notice that font name should be defined within double quotes. After saving, we can see that the font is modified to Rockwell font. When this web page is viewed on Linux or Mac operating system, the Rockwell font may not be available in that operating system and might apply some other alternative font. Uniformity of font should be maintained even when our page is viewed from different operating systems. We will see how to implement uniform fonts in the next video. Google has lots of free fonts in fonts.google.com. I am in fonts.google.com. If I scroll down, we can see numerous fonts listed over here. Let me explain one of the way how we can make use of a font available here. Let me select any one of the font randomly and click on the same. We can see the samples displayed for that font. When I click on one of the select this style option, the font gets added as part of my selection. To view my selection, I can click on this icon in the top right corner. In the bottom, we can see an @import option. Clicking on this, we can see an @import definition. This definition can be included in styles.css and we can make use of this font. I have selected a few fonts for our Patisserie website which we will be using later. In the next video, I will demonstrate how to apply a font using @import. Go to Resources, Code Snippet, CSS folder. Open the file named greatvibes.txt. Copy this line and paste it as the first line in styles.css. Then I am including the font family property with the value as great vibes in double quotes. After saving the changes, we can see the font changed to great vibes. Let us go back to greatvibes.txt. I have copied this import from fonts.google.com. Perform the steps mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. Now let us understand specific details about our font implementation. To apply a font file is required. If I click on the Rockwell font in Windows 10 operating system settings, we can see the font file name and the path where this font file is located. This demonstrates that each font has an associated font file. The @import statement downloads the font file from internet in the background and browser applies the font based on the font file. Hope this gives an high-level understanding on how @import works. One another way to apply font is to download the font file from fonts.google.com and apply the font using @fontface rule in CSS. Explaining all the possible ways to apply font is beyond the scope of this course. If you are interested to learn more about @fontface, search documents using @fontface keyword. Hope you now have an understanding on how to apply fonts. Let us catch up in the next video. By default, all heading tags are displayed as bold font. Using CSS, we can make this font displayed as normal font. I am defining the font weight property with the value as normal. When I save, we can see the boldness of the font is gone. To make the font back to bold, normal can be changed to bold. Include the font weight property with the value as normal and check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. Now we will increase the font size. I am including the font size property with value as 6 rem. After saving, we can see the font size increased. Apply font size property, check if font size increases, then move on to the next video. It is possible to define the height and width of an element. Let me define the height as 15 rem and width as 20 rem. After saving the file, we can see that the height and width is changed. Include the height and width property, check if changes are applied, then move on to the next video. Now we have a fair understanding on the basic styles that can be applied to an HTML element. We will now try to understand how layout can be controlled using CSS. This is the output of the new page named layout.html. In this page, I have defined a div tag with red border. Within this div, 15 div tags are included, each having the border as blue color. Each one of the 15 inner div tag is defined with the same height and width. Since div tag is a block element, we can see each tag displayed in a separate line. I'm going to use this layout to demonstrate controlling the page layout. First, you need to define this web page. In the next video, I will convey how to get this page implemented. For layout.html, we will get the content from resources folder. Open resources, code snippets, CSS folder. In this folder, copy the file named layout.html and place it under the CSS folder. Then open layout.css, which is available in the same folder. Copy the styles within this file and paste it in styles.css. Save styles.css and launch layout.html in live server. Check if you're getting the expected layout, then move on to the next video. In layout.html, the outer div is defined with the class name as container. All inner divs are defined with the class as item. In styles.css, when I include styles for container, it is going to be applied for the outer div tag. For the outer div, I am going to include display property with value as flex. After this change, we can see that all the inner divs are compressed and displayed in a single line. To retain the width of each inner div, we can use flex wrap property with the value as wrap. We can see that the width of each div is now retained. When it becomes impossible to accommodate the items in a single line, the next items are placed in the next line. The inner div layout can be controlled using one more property called justify content. If this value is center, we can see all the items aligned to the center. Space around value creates a space around each box. Likewise, there are other properties and values that can help take full control over the content within the div. Flex is an important feature in CSS that is used to define the layout of the web page. Try applying these three properties in your styles.css and check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. The CSS learning we have made so far is sufficient enough to implement the Our Story web page. To apply styles and layout definition for Our Story web page, we are going to use an open source CSS framework called Bootstrap. Next, we will get started with learning Bootstrap, and then we will apply the styles for the Our Story web page. Let us catch up in the next video. For learning Bootstrap, I have created a separate folder named Bootstrap in Learn folder. In this new folder, I have created a new file named viewport.html. This HTML file contains the doctype, HTML, head, meta, title, and body tags. Within the body tag, we have an h1 tag defined. Create the Bootstrap folder, then create viewport.html file with the tags specified here. Launch this file using live server and then move on to the next video. As per the statistics, around 50% of visits to a website comes from mobile devices. Hence, the website we develop should look good in mobile device as well. As a developer, we need a tool that will help us understand how to make our web page look good in various devices. We are going to use the device emulator in Chrome browser. I have viewport.html already open in the browser. Let us see how this page will look like in iPhone 5. The device emulator can be opened by clicking on the menu, then selecting More Tools, and then submenu Developer Tool. Open the developer tools based on the instructions provided in this video, and then move on to the next video where I will explain how to view this page for iPhone 5. In the top left corner of developer tools, we can see the option Toggle Device Toolbar. Click this option, then click on this drop down named Responsive and select any iPhone, which will display how our page looks like in iPhone. Perform the steps mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. You can see that the heading displayed is very small in iPhone 5. Let us try to understand the reason for this. This is the output of viewport.html in desktop. If this view is scaled down to the width of the mobile device, this is how it will look like. A browser by default assumes that a web page is going to be displayed in a desktop. Hence, it scales it down and displays the content. Hope this explains the reason why the heading displayed is so small. The next video, we will see how to overcome this behavior. In viewport.html, I am including a new line after meta tag. I am typing meta :vp emmet abbreviation and pressing enter key. This includes the standard viewport definition. The generated line is very lengthy. We cannot see the full view of the line. I'm going to close the File Explorer section in the left hand side by clicking this icon. If I save the file, we can see that the heading is displayed larger. Let us now try to understand about Viewport Meta Tag. Viewport was introduced in HTML5 to handle various types of devices. In the viewport definition, width is specified as device width. This conveys the browser to use the width of the respective device and not the desktop width. Designing web pages for various types of devices is called as responsive web design. To make a web page responsive, inclusion of viewport meta tag is the first step. Include the viewport meta tag using meta colon vp emmet abbreviation. Then save and check if the heading is displayed correctly in iPhone 5. Then move on to the next video. Now that we have defined the viewport, the next step is to use Bootstrap. I am in the Bootstrap website getbootstrap.com. With Bootstrap, it is possible to build fast, responsive websites. Here, responsive means the responsive web design. Bootstrap is one of the popular open source CSS framework. Open source means that the source code of the software is available to anybody and they can make use of the software without any cost involved. This means that we can use Bootstrap without having the need to pay for any license. One of the way to apply Bootstrap is by downloading the necessary files. Let me demonstrate the steps to download and identify the necessary files. I am clicking on download. Then if I click this download under compiled CSS and JS section, a zip file will be downloaded. I have already downloaded and opened the zip file. In the zip file, we can see two folders, CSS and JS. From CSS folder, we need bootstrap.css and bootstrap.min.css. I am coming back and opening JS folder. From this folder, we need bootstrap.js and bootstrap.min.js. To apply Bootstrap in a web page, we need bootstrap.css and bootstrap.js. It is also possible to apply Bootstrap using bootstrap.min.css and bootstrap.min.js. The difference between these two approaches will be explained later. I have already downloaded and extracted these four files. In the next video, I will demonstrate how to apply them. Let me show the location of downloaded and extracted Bootstrap files. Opening Resources, Downloads, and Bootstrap folder. In this folder, we can see the four files that I had shown in the previous video. In the Bootstrap folder, I have created two new folders, CSS and JS. I have copied bootstrap.css to CSS folder and I have copied bootstrap.js to JS folder. Create folders and copy files based on the steps mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. The file bootstrap.css is similar to the CSS file we created earlier when we learnt CSS. This CSS file has a style defined by Bootstrap which can be used in our web page. The file bootstrap.js is a JavaScript file. This JavaScript file is required for Bootstrap to handle actions performed by the user on the web page. We will learn JavaScript later in one of the course series. Hope this video gives an overview about bootstrap.css and bootstrap.js. Let us catch up in the next video. Let us apply Bootstrap in viewport.html. I am including link tag using emmet abbreviation link::css. I am clearing styles.css and including bootstrap.css from the CSS folder. Next, I am including a line before the closure of body tag. Here, I am including the emmet abbreviation script::src. In the src attribute, I am including the Bootstrap JavaScript file reference. Notice how the heading looks currently. After saving, the heading gets changed to a different font, which means that Bootstrap is successfully applied. Link tag links the Bootstrap CSS file. Script tag links the Bootstrap JavaScript file. Include the link tag and script tag. For your convenience, the emmet abbreviations are made available in emmet.txt file in the resources folder. Once the tags are included, save and check if the font gets changed, then move on to the next video. Once Bootstrap was applied, we saw the heading font changed. Let us examine more to understand how the font got applied from Bootstrap. I have opened the developer tools for viewport.html. We can see the default body tag is selected in the elements section. In the bottom, we can see the styles applied for the body tag. From this line, we can understand that the style for body tag comes from bootstrap.css. In the left hand side, I have opened bootstrap.css and we can see the element selector defined for body tag, which is what is displayed here in the browser developer tools. We can see font family property referring to a variable value. If I move the mouse over BS body font family, we can see multiple fonts listed. The browser will apply the first available font from these listed fonts. The System UI and Apple System fonts are not available in Windows, hence the first available font Sego UI is applied for the body. Styles applied for body tag gets applied to all the elements within the body tag. Hence H1 tag as well has got Sego UI font. If I click H1, we can see the styles for H1 tag in the bottom. If we scroll down, we can see the section inherited from body, which means the styles inherited from body tag has got applied to H1 tag as well. Hope this video gives you an idea how styles get applied from bootstrap.css. Go to developer tools, examine the bootstrap styles and then move on to the next video. Let us start applying Bootstrap for our story web page. We are going to make use of the files that we have already created when learning HTML. I am expanding the HTML folder and copying our story.html to Bootstrap folder. Then I am copying images folder from HTML folder to Bootstrap folder. I am launching our story HTML page using live server. If the web page launches correctly with images, then we have successfully copied the necessary files into Bootstrap folder. Copy the file and folder to Bootstrap folder. Check if our story page works correctly, then move on to the next video. Now we will apply Bootstrap for our story HTML page. I have opened our story HTML from the Bootstrap folder. First, I am including the viewport. Then I am including Bootstrap CSS. Then I am including the script tag before the closure of body tag. After saving, we can see that the font for the page is modified, which means that Bootstrap is successfully applied. Include the viewport, Bootstrap CSS and Bootstrap JS to our story HTML web page. Then check if the font of the page is changed, then move on to the next video. In the Our Story web page, let us focus on the font color of the heading. The font color of the heading should be RGB 255 0157. The RGB option helps to provide a mix of red, green and blue color. This is one of the way to apply colors in CSS. To know more about various ways to apply colors in CSS, refer documents searching for keywords CSS color values. Now coming back to the heading color, this color is used by the pastry shop for their branding, and they want to use this color for all the page headings in the website. In the next video, we will see how to apply this color for heading. In the CSS folder, I have created a new file named styles.css. In this file, I have included the h2 element selector with the color value as RGB 255 0 157. Then I have included the link tag in our story HTML pointing to the new styles.css file. Ensure that styles.css is defined after the bootstrap.css definition. After saving, we can see that the h2 tag color is changed. Implement the changes as mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video where I will explain about this implementation. I'm going to examine the styles of the h2 tag. I am right clicking on the heading and selecting inspect. In the developer tools, we can see that the heading color is applied from the styles.css that we defined in the previous video. If we scroll down to the bottom in the inherited from body section, we can see the color style striked out, which means that the styles defined in styles.css is going to take precedence over bootstrap.css. In our story.html, we can use whatever style required from Bootstrap, and wherever we want to customize the styles for pastry shop, we can define it in styles.css. Hope now you understand how to apply customization of styles when using Bootstrap. Let us catch up in the next video. I have already defined the other styles required for heading in styles.css. Let me summarize the changes done. As a first line, I have included the import rule for Great Vibes font. I have copied it from the styles.css we used when learning CSS. In h2 element selector, font family is defined as Great Vibes and font size defined as 3 rem. After these style inclusions, this is how the heading looks like. Implement the changes mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. In our story web page, we can see the heading, image and all the content is very close to the left hand side border of the browser window. A margin can be included around the page content using container class available in Bootstrap. In our story.html, we already have a div tag that encloses all the page content. I am including class with the value as container. After saving and checking the page, we can see some margin added. Include the container class, check if it works as expected, then move on to the next video. Let me add a few more details about container class. The container class adds margin in both left and right hand side. When viewing this page in desktop, the amount of margin added looks good. But this much of margin is not required when viewing this page in a mobile. Let us check how it looks in a mobile using developer tools. We can see that there is very less margin included for mobile. This is to demonstrate that Bootstrap is responsive and takes care of applying the margin based on the device. Let us catch up in the next video. Hope you remember we created this layout when learning CSS. We defined an outer div and then we defined multiple inner div tags which helped in controlling the layout. We are going to take the same approach to get the layout for our story web page. We are going to define an outer div tag enclosing all the images and text. Then we are going to define each image and text within a div tag. Once the div tags are defined, we are going to apply Bootstrap classes to get the necessary layout. We will start implementing this layout from the next video onwards. Based on previous video explanation, I am selecting these 4 lines that needs to be enclosed within a div tag. After selection, I am opening the command palette. Refer shortcut for command palette in the VS Code shortcuts.txt. In the command palette, we can see wrap with abbreviation option already selected. I am pressing enter key now. Next, I am typing enclosing tag name as div and pressing enter key. You can see the images and text enclosed within a div tag. Based on the steps mentioned in this video, enclose the 4 lines within div tag and then move on to the next video. Similar to the steps done in the previous video, we need to select each image and text to be enclosed within div tag. I am selecting the first image line and enclosing it in a div tag. Then I am selecting the text in the next line and enclosing it in a div tag. It is not required to enclose the HR tag within a div tag. Next, I am selecting the second row text and enclosing it in a div tag. Finally, I am selecting the second image and enclosing it in a div tag. Perform the steps mentioned in this video. Enclose each text and image within a div tag. Once done, move on to the next video. When the div tag content is lengthy, then it is better to include the div tag content in a separate line. This can be done by including new line characters in the beginning and end of the content. I am repeating the steps for the other 3 div tags. The text content is exceeding beyond the visibility. We can wrap the lines using enter key. Complete the alignment mentioned in this video and then move on to the next video. Now that we have defined the necessary div tags, let us apply the Bootstrap classes. For the outermost div tag, we will define the Bootstrap class row. For all the inner div tags, I'm going to define the class call-6. I am applying class as call-6 for the first inner div tag. Then I am copying this class definition and going to paste it for the other 3 div tags. Let me complete it for the other 3 div tags. After saving and checking the browser, we can see the image and the text layout is achieved as expected. Define outer div with the class row, then apply class call-6 for all inner div tags. Check the browser output, then move on to the next video where I will explain about the classes that we have included. In Bootstrap.css, let us examine the style definition for row class. We can see row class defined with display flex and flex wrap properties. Hope you remember we used display flex when learning CSS. I have opened the respective page in the right hand side for your quick reference. This is the styles.css for this page, and we can see the display flex and flex wrap property we used earlier. In a similar way, the row class definition with display flex helps to place the image and text adjacently in our story web page. Hope this helps you understand how row class helps in achieving the layout we want. Let us catch up in the next video where we will understand about the column classes. Let us try to understand Bootstrap column classes by implementing an example. The example files are available in the resources folder. Open resources, code snippets, Bootstrap. Copy grid.html and place it under Bootstrap folder. Copy grid.css and place it under CSS folder of Bootstrap. Launch grid.html in live server and check if this layout is displayed. Perform the steps mentioned in this video and move on to the next video. Let us understand the content of grid.html and grid.css. In grid.html, we have doctype, HTML, head, title, and body tag. Within head, we have charset, viewport, link for Bootstrap CSS, and link for grid CSS. Within body, we have a container div. Within container div, we have heading and a div with class as row. Within row, we have a div with class as call-1. In grid.css, these styles apply border for all the divs within the row div. That is why we are able to see the boundary of the call1 div tag in the web page. Hope this gives an understanding on the contents of grid.html and grid.css. Let us catch up in the next video. Bootstrap divides the available browser width into 12 equal columns. The call1 div tag occupies the first column of the 12 columns. If I define one more call1 div, this occupies the second column of the 12 columns available. I'm going to include 10 more similar div tags. We can see all the 12 columns occupying the entire row. The key takeaway from this demonstration is that the grid system of Bootstrap has 12 columns. Include 12 div tags with call-1 as class. Check the result and then move on to the next video. I am going to define one more div tag with call1 within the div row. I am copying an existing line and pasting it in the end. If I save and check, we can see the 13th div tag wrapped and placed in the bottom. Since the 12 columns are already occupied, it gets wrapped to the bottom. If I include a div with call-2, it occupies 2 columns. If I include div with call-3, it occupies 3 columns and it will be 1/4 of the available width. Likewise, Bootstrap contains classes from call-1 to call-12, with each class occupying the respective number of columns. If I include div with call-6, it occupies 6 columns and it will be half of the available width. A div with call-12 occupies 12 columns and occupies the entire row. We can see the div tags getting wrapped to bottom whenever 12 columns are already occupied. Using these column combinations, we can define any type of layout we want. Let us catch up in the next video. Based on the understanding we have on Bootstrap grid system, let us understand the column definitions in our story HTML that we have earlier defined. Within row div, we have defined 4 divs with call-6. The class call-6 is going to occupy 6 columns, which will be half of the available width. The next div with call-6 is going to occupy the rest of the 6 columns. With this, we have already occupied 12 columns. Hence, the next call6 div is placed in the bottom. The final call6 div occupies the rest of the bottom half. Hope you now understand how we were able to define a layout that divides the available width into equally half sections. Let us catch up in the next video. Now that we have defined the layout for our story.html, let us apply the styles one by one. If we look at the book cover image, it is exceeding beyond the screen. We have to scroll towards the right to see the full image, which is not a good user experience. It is exceeding because of the size of the image. The size of the image can be controlled using the Img Fluid class available in Bootstrap. In our story.html, I'm going to include the Bootstrap class Img Fluid for the Img Tag. Now let me include it for the other Img tag as well. This Bootstrap class ensures that the image does not exceed the enclosing call6 div. After saving, we can see that the image does not exceed the screen and the scroll bar is gone. Include the class definition for both the Img tags, check the result, and then move on to the next video. If we look at the image, it is aligned to the left. We will change the alignment to center. Let me explain how we are going to achieve this using CSS. We already know that if the outer div is defined as flex, it is possible to control the position of the elements within that div. From that perspective, if I make this div as flex, then it is possible to control the position of the image. To make this div as flex, I am placing the cursor after call-6. Then I am including a space and then defining the class name as our-story-image. The class our-story-image will be included in styles.css. Notice that in the class attribute, we are defining multiple class names. If multiple classes are defined, browser will apply the styles of all the classes one by one. Now let me copy the class name and include it for the other div tag that encloses the image so that this image can also be center aligned. Let me save this file and go to styles.css to define this class. I am including dot followed by class name, then including the display property with value as flex. Then I am defining the style justify-content with value as center. The justify content center is going to make the content within the div to align in the center. We know that the content of this div is an image and that is what we want to align to the center. After saving, we can see in the web page that the image is aligned to the center. Include our story image class name for the div tags of the image. Then include this class definition in styles.css. Then save and check if the image is aligned to the center. Then move on to the next video. If we compare the heights of the images, we can see that it differs. The book cover image is occupying more height than the street image. To bring uniformity, we can include the height as 30 rem in the our story image class. After this change, we can see the top and bottom sections having the same height. Include this style. Check if the heights are uniformly applied, then move on to the next video. Next, we will focus on styling the text adjacent to the image. To apply styles to the text, we are going to apply the styles for these two div tags, which will apply the styles to the text as well. Let me include the class name our story text in the first div tag. Then I am copying the class name and pasting it for the other div tag as well. Let me save our story HTML. Next, let us define the styles for this class in styles.css. I am including the our story text class. Then I want to define the color as the brand color. I am copying the brand color from one of the previous definition and pasting it for the new class. After saving the file, if I check in the browser, we can see the font color changed. Include our story text class name for the text div tags in our story HTML. Then include the class definition in styles.css. Then save and check if the text color is changed. Then move on to the next video. Now that we have applied the font color, next we will center align the text. In styles.css, I'm going to include text-align property in our story-text class with value as center. After saving, we can see the text aligned to the center. Implement the changes mentioned and move on to the next video. The text is vertically aligned to the top. It would be good if it is aligned in the middle. Again, we are going to make use of display flex to align the content. In styles.css, for our story text, I am including display property with value as flex. Then flex wrap as wrap and align content as center. The align content property helps to align the content within the div. After saving, we can see the text is aligned in the middle. Implement the changes mentioned and move on to the next video. Next, we will apply font styling on the text. We are going to apply the font family as Emg. I have already included the import for this font. This import can be found in resources fonts emg.txt file. Coming back to styles.css, I have already applied the font family as Emg. Font size as 1.75 rem and font weight as 400. This font weight property makes a slightly bolder font. After inclusion of these styles, we can see the styling applied for the text. Include the import, then apply font family, font size and font weight, save and check the result. With these changes, we have completed the layout and styling for the content of the Our Story web page. We will next focus on styling the navigation of the Our Story web page. Next, let us focus on the styles for the navigation bar. For styling navigation, I have already applied the Bootstrap classes. Let me list the classes that I have included. In the nav tag, I have included 4 Bootstrap classes. They are navbar, navbar expand LG, navbar dark, and BG dark. For the div with shop name, navbar brand is applied. For the next div, navbar nav is applied. Then for our story div, nav link is applied. After application of the styles, we can see the navigation bar with black shaded background color. The shop name Patisserie is the brand name and our story is the navigation item. We can see the font color of the text is in white. We will later customize the background color. Apply the classes mentioned in this video. check the navigation bar display, and then move on to the next video where I will provide an overview about these Bootstrap classes. Now let us have an high-level walkthrough of the classes that we included in the previous video. I have opened developer tools in a separate window so that we can examine the classes one by one. The navbar class in Bootstrap provides a structure and spacing around the navigation bar. The class navbar expand LG helps to make the navigation bar responsive. It expands for the desktop and it shrinks for the mobile. The class navbar dark helps to make all the fonts in the navigation bar with white color. The class bg dark defines the dark background color. The class navbar brand helps to define the brand. Primarily, it contains the increased font size than the normal text. The class navbar nav helps to group together the navigation links. Currently, we have only one navigational link, which is our story. The class navlink helps to define the styling for the navigation link. If I hover over the our story text, we can see a slight change in the brightness. For further details about these classes, you can examine the styles defined and go through the Bootstrap documentation. Now we will customize the navigation bar for Patisserie website. The background color needs to be changed to the brand color, and the font for the brand and navigation item needs to be changed. Open resources, code snippets, Bootstrap folder. Open the file named navcustomstyles.txt. Copy the import in the first line and place it in the beginning of styles.css. This import is to apply the Open Sans condensed font for the navigation links. Then go back to navcustomstyles.txt and copy all the styles and paste it in styles.css. After saving styles.css, we can see the background color changed. Also notice that the Patisserie brand and navigation item fonts are modified. Implement the changes mentioned in this video and move on to the next video. Let us understand about the styles defined in the previous video. Make note that all the class names we included in the previous video are existing Bootstrap classes. In nav element, we included the Bootstrap class bg dark. We saw that it applied a black background color. To customize it to the Patisserie website brand color, we defined a class with the same name bg dark in styles.css, which changes the background color. In a similar fashion, we have applied customized styles for the Bootstrap classes navbar brand and navlink. Let us examine these styles in developer tools. I have maximized the developer tools to get a better visibility. In the left hand side, we can see the HTML elements. Based on the element that I am selecting, I can see the styles in the right hand side. If I select the nav element, we can see the background color of the Bootstrap class striked out and the bg dark from styles.css is applied. Similarly, we can see the navbar brand and navlink styles changing the styles defined by Bootstrap. Let us examine the other styles back in Visual Studio Code. In navbar brand, we have changed the font to Great Vibes, increased the font size and applied some margin to the left. In navlink, we have changed the font as Open Sans condensed, made the font bold and slightly increased the font size. Hope this gives an idea how we customize the styles in the navigation bar content. Let us catch up in the next video. Let us see how our story page looks in mobile and tablet. I have opened the Our Story page and I have already opened the developer tools and selected toggle device toolbar option. I have selected an iPhone from this drop down. We can see the image and text displayed adjacently. Since mobile have lesser width, the image has shrinked and not clearly visible. The same has happened to the bottom section as well. Now let us check it in a tablet. I am selecting an iPad. In iPad, the layout looks good. Now we have to fix the layout for mobile device. In the next video, we will apply a fix. If we need to make the image occupy the entire width, it may look good in mobile. Hope you remember the Bootstrap class to make a div occupy the entire width. The Bootstrap class is call-12. Let me change all the call6 to call12. After the change, we can see that it looks good in mobile. The image and text are displayed one below the other. Change all call6 to call12. Check the result in mobile device and move on to the next video. Now that we have fixed the layout in mobile device, let us check the layout in tablet and desktop. I am selecting iPad. Now here as well call12 is applied, hence each div is occupying the entire width. I am closing developer tools to check how it will look in desktop. In desktop as well, call12 is applied and we are getting a similar layout like how we saw in tablet. The change we made in the previous video has worked for mobile but has affected the layout for tablet and desktop. If we understand about device specific classes in the Bootstrap grid system, we can solve this issue. Try to look into the Our Story webpage in tablet as well as desktop. Check if you are getting a similar result. Then move on to the next video where I will explain about specific classes in the Bootstrap grid system. Let us examine the widths in developer tools. The height and width in pixels for each device is displayed on the top. Whenever I select a different device, we can see these values getting changed. The first number represents the width and the second number represents the height. Based on the device width, Bootstrap has defined 6 classifications. The devices having width less than 576 pixels are called as extra small. Devices with width greater than or equal to 576 pixels are small devices. Devices with width greater than or equal to 768 pixels are medium devices. Devices with width greater than or equal to 992 pixels are large devices. Devices with width greater than or equal to 1200 pixels are extra large devices. Devices with width greater than or equal to 1400 pixels are extra large devices. If I want to define a div that is going to occupy half of the device width, let us see how it can be defined for each one of these 6 device classifications. For extra small, it should be call-6. For small, it should be call-sm-6. Here, small is represented as sm. For medium, it should be call-md-6. Here, medium is represented as md. For large, it should be call-lg-6. Here, large is represented as lg. For extra large, it should be col-xl-6. Here extra large is represented as XL. For extra large, it should be col-XXL-6. Here extra large is represented as XXL. Mobile devices will come under extra small and small classification. Tablets will come under medium. Laptops and desktops will come under large, extra large and extra large. Now we will see how the Bootstrap classes can be applied based on the device classification. A column class defined applies to the specific device classification as well as to all the device classifications that has width greater than the device mentioned. For example, if we have a div with class as col-12, we know that col-12 represents extra small devices. So col-12 is applied in extra small devices, and it will also be applied to small, medium, large, extra large and extra large devices. Hope you remember I mentioned earlier that it will be applied to the devices that has the width greater than the current device as well. Let us take one more example. If we have a div with class as col-md-6, it will be applied to medium device, and then it is also applied to large, extra large and extra large, but it is not applied for extra small and small. If I want to include the missing devices as well, I can include one more column definition as col-12. Hence my div should have both col-12 and col-md-6 separated by a space. Now col-12 is applied to extra small and small. Col-md-6 is applied to medium, large, extra large and extra large. Whenever we define column class, we need to ensure that all the devices are covered. Let me summarize the learning we had in this video. Bootstrap provides 6 classifications based on the device width. It is possible to include the device classification in the column definition. When column is defined for a specific device classification, it is applied for that device as well as for the devices having width greater than that device. When we define columns, we need to ensure that it provides coverage for all devices. In the next video, we will implement an example to understand how to make a div apply different column width based on the device classification. We are going to try this example in grid.html. Let me explain the expected behavior of this example. We are going to have 4 div tags after the heading device width demo. In a mobile device, each div should occupy the entire width. In a tablet, it should accommodate 2 divs in a row. In a desktop, it should accommodate 4 divs in a row. In the next series of videos, we will implement this step by step, which will help you understand how to apply columns for various devices. In grid.html, I have included a heading, after which I have included 4 div tags. I have applied col-12 for each div. Let us look at the result in each device. In mobile, each div occupies the entire row. This is because of col-12 applied to mobile. In tablet as well, each div occupies the entire row. Since no column is specified for tablet, col-12 is applied. In desktop as well, each div occupies the entire row. Since no column is specified for desktop, col-12 is applied. Include these lines in grid.html. Check if it works as demonstrated in all the 3 devices then move on to the next video. I have made some modifications in grid.html. I have included call-md-6 for each div. Notice that I have retained call-12. With this change, let us see how it looks in various devices. In mobile, each div is occupying the entire width. This is because of the call12 definition. In tablet, each div is occupying half of the width. This is because of call-md-6 definition. In desktop, each div is occupying half of the width. This is because of call-md-6, which gets applied to device with width more than the tablet. Include call-md-6 for each div. Check the result in all the 3 devices and then move on to the next video. I will explain the final set of modifications that I have done in grid.html. I have included call-lg-3 for each div. Notice that I have retained call12 and call-md6. With this change, let us see how it looks in various devices. In mobile, each div is occupying the entire width. This is because of the call-12. In tablet, each div is occupying half of the width. This is because of call-md6. In desktop, each div is occupying 1/4 of the width. This is because of call-lg-3. In call-lg-3, 3 is 1/4 of 12, hence it is occupying 1/4 of the desktop. Include call-lg-3 for each div. Check the result in all the 3 devices and then move on to the next video. Now that we have a better understanding on Bootstrap grid system with the device classification, let us now try to solve the mobile layout problem for our story web page. With the call12 already present, we have already got the expected result in mobile devices. For tablet, we want each div to occupy half of the device width. Hence, we can include call-md-6 for each div. Let me save and check how this works in various devices. In mobile, it is displayed correctly. In tablet, each div is occupying half of the width based on the call-md-6 definition. In desktop, each div is occupying half of the width based on call-md-6 column definition. We know that half width will be applied for devices having width greater than the tablet device. Hence, large device specific column definition is not required. With this, we have made our story web page that is responsive. With this, we are completing the implementation of our story web page. Implement the changes mentioned and move on to the next video. Let me convey what will be covered in part 2. In the second part, we will be focusing on developing a new page for displaying the pastry shop menu items. This is the sample layout of the menu page. This is how the page will look like in a mobile phone. The menu details for this page will be retrieved from the database, hence all the full stack technologies will be covered in this part. Let me summarize the technologies we will use to implement this page. In the front end, we will use HTML, CSS, JavaScript, Bootstrap, and Angular. In the back end, we will use the Java programming language. The Java frameworks that we will use is Spring Boot and Spring Data JPA. The database will be MySQL. Let us look into the tools that we will use. We will continue using Visual Studio Code for front-end development. Eclipse IDE will be used for backend development, and MySQL Workbench will be used for connecting and working with the database. We will push the code to GitHub and deploy the application in cloud. Hope this gives an overview about what will be covered in part 2.